You are to be an authority over that child. And that's why the primary thing it tells children is honor your parents, obey your parents, respect your parents. In quoting Exodus 20 verse 12, Paul commands children to obey their parents, calling it the first commandment with a promise. Ephesians 6 verse 1, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land. Your children's ability to recognize your authority is directly proportional to their prospects of a long life on this earth. Directly proportional. The lower your child's recognition of your authority, your child's respect for you and obedience for you, the lower the prospects of a long life for them. It's directly proportional. So your primary role as a parent, if there's the one thing you must aim for and target, is that your children recognize your authority. If you can hit that mark, you have fulfilled what God requires of you as a parent. So what does this mean and what does it look like? Those are the 2 points in this session. Number one, what parental authority means. Let's start with what it doesn't mean. It does not mean the extreme that we just talked about of older generations. It does not mean that you are to be a tyrant. It does not mean children must live in terror. Terror must only fill children when they are doing something wrong. If they are doing something right, there should be no need for them to fear you. So what does it mean when we say children, parental authority? Children must recognize parental authority. Put simply, parental authority means that your children must recognize your authority. This is even before them doing anything. They must just, when they look at you as a daddy, when they look at you as a mommy, they should say, that one is in charge. That's what should come to your child's mind. It is vital that your children know who is in charge. It is vital that your children know who is running the home. Your children must know that if there is any impasse, okay, they think things should be done this way, but you think things should be done the other way, and there's an impasse. It should be clear in your children's mind who will carry the day. There should be no debate in their mind. Do your children know that mommy is in charge? Do your children know that daddy is in charge? Children must know who is ultimately in control, who is running the show. Secondly, parental authority means that you are the primary restraint in the life of your child. There is no one else God has given children to restrain them from evil other than parents. And that is always the role of authority. Restrain evil, reward good. Restrain evil, reward good. To restrain and curb bad behavior and encourage and reward good behavior. That's the role of authority. In Romans 13 verse 3, it talks about government authority, governing authorities, but it generalizes and gives us some principles for all authorities. Because in verse 3, Romans 13, It says, for rulers, whoever they might be, whatever kind of ruler we're dealing with, whether it's a boss at work or someone in society or a parent in the home, rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of one who is in authority? Do you want to behave freely and be a free person when authority is around? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. Verse 4, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. That is you as a parent. Your job is to carry out God's wrath on that little scoundrel in your house who is giving everybody problems. As well as, obviously, commend them and encourage them when they do the right thing. Thirdly, it means, parental authority, that obviously children must obey your instructions. This is not just about your children always doing what is right, but it is also about your children doing what you want. Don't miss this as a parent. Parental authority is not just about your children doing what is right, but doing what you want. What do I mean by that? There are things we instruct children to do because they are right. The things we tell them not to do because they are wrong. For example, when you tell a child not to push their friend or be violent with their friends or siblings, that's the right thing for the child to do. Or when you tell your child to share what they have with others, that's the right thing for your child to do. Those are right things. But as a parent, parental authority means them not just doing the right things because you are instructing them to do the right, but it's also them doing what you want. Your child must not just do what you say because it is right. They must do what you say because you told them to do it. Your goal is to get your child to obey clear and direct instructions without fail. Don't touch that. Come here. Enough of that nonsense. Go to your room. Or sit down. Or take this cup to the kitchen. Those are not moral things. It's just your instruction. Parental authority means getting your child to a point where they obey those direct, clear instructions. Your child must be able to do what you say, especially when they would rather not do it. If you can achieve that goal, then you'd have made great progress in helping them recognize your authority, especially in those times when they don't want. But if they can obey your direct, clear instruction when they don't want to do it, then you are making progress in helping them recognize your authority. Basically, your child must be formed in your image. So if your ideal is that the child should be, I remember some parents who said, we've just decided that for peace of mind, for us to be able to rest, the kids must be in bed by, I think they said 19:30. So they put the kids to bed earlier. And now, is there a problem if a child goes to bed at 20? There's not a problem. But for them, they said, this is what will help us be able to rest and, just put them down and we can do other things and get some rest and so on and so on. And they stamped that on their children. And that's what I mean. What is your ideal? What do you want? How do you want your children to be? What do you want them to do? What structure are you trying to form for them and for their life? They must fit into that. Now let's look at what parental authority. So that's what parental authority means. Let's look at what it looks like. Okay? That's the second point. What parental authority looks like. Trying to be a bit more practical here. First, what it does not look like. It does not look like children who never speak or children who are forbidden from asking questions. When we say parental authority, we're not saying that children cannot even ask why. You know, when you say sit down. Why, daddy? Why, mommy? They can, as long as they do it respectfully and genuinely. And I'm not saying you have to answer all those why questions. Remember, you're creating them in your image. And so if you're tired of the why questions, you can shut it off and say, my friend, no more why questions today. I think I've answered enough of them. But we are not saying that children should be so terrified that they can't speak, they can't express themselves, they can't say why. That's not what parental authority looks like. It does not look like perfect obedience. That is not the aim. In fact, it doesn't even exist. The day you can obey the authorities in your life perfectly is the day you should demand perfect obedience from your children. So I'm not saying your children can't mess up, your children can't rebel, your children can't do anything wrong. They can. But there must be a general trajectory and progression towards obedience to these direct instructions and clear instructions. What it does look like. It looks like couple of things. First, it looks like teaching your children that you are the authority in their lives. Teaching them that principle. Putting that idea in their minds. So it looks like you saying things like this to your child. My son, my daughter, you cannot talk to me like that. I am your daddy. Or I am your mommy. What are you doing there? Maybe the child is too young to understand, to say, you can't go and tell a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, I'm your authority. They don't even know what authority is. But when you say, you can't talk to me like that, I'm your daddy and your mom, you are conveying the concept of authority. When they disobey, teach them the concept of authority. Say, why didn't you do what I said? You must listen to what I say because I'm your daddy, because I'm your mom. And don't hesitate to refer to the Bible. God says, tell your child, God says in his word that you must obey me. He says you must obey your parents. Make them memorize that verse. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. This is the first commandment with a promise. Remember that verse we memorized? What does God's word say? So, in other words, teach the concept of you as an authority. Embed the principle of you as an authority in their mind, so that they actually begin to view you. Daddy and mommy, I can't, daddy is saying I can't talk like that to him because he's daddy. So, so you don't talk to daddies like that. You don't talk to mummies like that. Secondly, it looks like your children doing what you tell them to do. But more than just doing what you tell them to do, it looks like your children respecting you as they carry out your instructions. So it's not just that they do what you say, it matters how they do it, that they do it respectfully. In other words, have an eye for attitude. Don't have shouting matches with your kids. Sometimes we have shouting matches with the children. All the time, you're telling me to do this. I'm the one who's telling you. But mom, and it's a shouting match. Yeah, that's not authority. That's not being an authority. That's being a peer. Peers shout at each other. So shut it down. We can't shout at each other. You can't start shouting at daddy. Okay? There should be no rolling of the eyes. Pouting of the cheeks, doing this. As they are going to, then they're going like this to go and you call them, but hey, come. Why are you behaving like this? So don't just be content, they've done what I've said. No. Have an eye for how they carry out your instruction, that they do it respectfully. Don't argue back and forth with the child, because you have an eye for the attitude. So beyond merely obeying you, you must be interested in the way that they obey. You must be concerned about their attitude. Part of recognizing authority is being respectful. What does it look like? Here's another one. It looks like this. The most frightening, now we're talking practically, what does parental authority look like? The most frightening thing your child should ever be told is, I'll tell your dad and your mom. That should be the most frightening thing. That should send shivers down their spine. You are doing this, I'll tell your dad and your mom. I've had kids who will be disrespecting me or telling me off or something, and they are the ones who are telling me I'll tell my dad and my mom. To me. For misbehaving. So what kind of parents do you have who support you in this behavior? For some of us, if our children were told, I'll tell your dad and your mom, our children will say, tell them. Tell them. It's not threatening to them, It's not an issue. If those words, I'll tell your dad, I'll tell your mom, if those words do not mean anything to your child, if they do not send shivers down the spine of your child, then you must begin to change how you handle your child so that they begin to recognize your authority. When some of us were growing up, there are things we did not do out of sheer fear of parents. We told our friends, guys, I would have loved to join you on this thing. I would have loved to. But if my dad or my mom find out that I was involved in this thing, they will kill me. So I'm with you in spirit, but I just can't join in. I'm on a, I've already messed up a few times. I can't afford to mess up. What's that? Fear of parents. That's what that was. Bible says the fear of God is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of God is wisdom. The fear of parents is wisdom. The fear of parents is knowledge. Because as you grow older, you find that those things that you did not do for fear of parents actually saved you. They saved you from doing wrong things. And so that fear of dad and mom saved you from going into foolishness. The fear resulted in knowledge, and you didn't even know that you were acting in wisdom and knowledge out of fear. This is what the Bible means when it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of parents has guided many foolish young people to the gates of wisdom, just because they were afraid of dad and mom. Proverbs 8 verse 13 says, the fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. It is not that the evil is unattractive, but it's that we are afraid of the consequences if we cross paths with God. And that's how it should be for your children. A fear of parents that will lead them to wisdom. A fear of parents that will make them hate doing the wrong thing. Guys, I would have loved to do this, but my parents will kill me. That's what you want. At the back of their minds. So you can imagine then what trouble a child will get into who has little to no fear of their parents. To be a mess. Disaster. They will just go into evil without restraint. And what did we say? The God-given role of authority is restraint. I will not go past this, because if dad and mom catch me here, I'm going to be in big trouble. So let's conclude this session. A couple of pointers. Begin teaching your children to listen and obey you from their diapers. No should be amongst the first words that a child learns. Walk over to them, look them in the face, move their hand away from what they want to touch or they're trying to touch, or as their hand is going there, smack it. No. No. Wave your finger. They are not as dumb as they look. My daughter just turned 1. In fact, just yesterday I was on the couch, then I think I had my phone, then she was reaching up to my phone, and I said, no. And she looked, then she saw, this guy is serious, and she cried. Because she wasn't happy. But at least she got the point, that I said, no, can't touch that. The one thing, in fact, I even did it, that's my wife, I did it when she was a baby, when she couldn't even, the older one, when she couldn't even crawl or walk. I started. So I'd put something on the car, where they can't crawl, but they are now reaching for things. So for my older daughter, I would sit her down, put 2 things. And obviously she wants to touch both. When she's coming for this one, I brought the whip we use. It's meant for the second session, I'll show you. But I did a tap, pa. And then when she was going for the other thing, you can go, get her. She gets it. She tries to get the other one, pa, no, So from that age, so from diapers, you can begin saying, nope, they'll get it. You can begin smacking, nope, and they'll get it. The one thing that should alarm you more than anything this is another implication of what we're talking about. In conclusion, the one thing that should alarm you more than anything in your child is disregard for your authority. Unfortunately, for some of us, the one thing that alarms us is failing at school. That's the most important thing in your mind to do with your child, If your child is past number 20, you are pulling your hair out, screaming at them, calling people to do tuition. The thing that should alarm you more than that should be a child's disregard for your authority. There is more hope for a child who leaves your home with poor grades than a child who does not leaves your home having failed to learn to recognize your authority. It's even embedded in the promise that we refer to, isn't it? So that your life may belong on the earth. So the number one thing that should alarm you, the thing that should alarm you most is a child who disregards your authority. The thing that should alarm you the second most is a child who disregards other authorities. Because it means that they are missing the point. Remember, the whole point of them learning to recognize your authority is so that the concept of authority is embedded in the mind. So that when they go out to school, go out to society, the concept of authority is already there. And by learning to respect you and follow your orders and be obedient to you, it becomes easy when they go out there to obey others. So when your child recognizes your authority, obeys you, but she's insulting the maid, shouting, you're hearing her say, no, telling the maid, no, get out, telling the maid. Or the teacher calls and says, this child is naughty and disrespectful. That should alarm you. Because it means the concept of authority, though it may have taken root with you, it's not spreading in the way that it should to other authorities. It should start from the home. You must be alarmed when your children are disrespectful to other people. Even if you as a mommy see your child being disrespectful to daddy, jump in. No. You don't talk to daddy that way. Or you as daddy, no, you don't talk to mommy that way. If your child is hitting your wife, you go and say, don't hit your mom. Respect your mom. It should alarm you when they're not recognizing other authorities. Go say sorry. And if I see you doing that again, I'll spank you. I've seen parents who comfort their children in their rebellion. So maybe a child is misbehaving, the father spanks, and then the child goes crying to the mommy. Mommy says, what's the problem, my baby? Daddy has beat me. Daddy has beat you. Oh, sorry. And you start comforting the child. I've even seen some who take the child and say, let's go and beat daddy back. Beat him on the shoulder. Then the daddy is also doing this. Beat him on the shoulder. Okay, good, we've beaten daddy. You are destroying the concept of authority. Undermining the concept of authority. I remember my daughter said, Daddy, the way you spank me, even me, I'll spank you. And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. I'm the authority. You can't spank me. So you don't undermine, reinforce the authority. And if you hear that your child is respecting anyone anywhere, take it seriously and sit them down and say you must respect other people. People who are older than you, people who are in charge of you. Respect the maid. Respect the gardener. Don't say, hey, cowboy, come and pick my... No, say Mr. Whatever. Teach them to say Mr. Whatever. Wamake what? With respect to these people. So that the idea of authority is now spreading from just you to others. If you hear that your child is being disrespectful, drop everything you are doing. If you get a call at work, this child of yours is disrespectful, maybe a message after you pick them from school, the following day, get time off to first deal with the child at home. Do not disrespect your teachers like that. Tomorrow we're going to apologize to your teacher. And you take this so your child sees to say, hey, when it comes to authority, dad and mom don't play. I must obey and respect authority. Parents must view themselves as stewards raising children on God's behalf. Back to Romans 13. There is no authority, Romans 13 verse 1, except from God. All those that exist have been instituted by God. This parental authority thing is not our idea, it's God's idea. As parents, you are God's servants, and God will call you and all other authorities to account for how you raised your children. And God is going to ask you, did you teach your child to recognize and obey authority? That's what I needed from you with that child that I entrusted in your care. Finally, especially to those who have older children, do not keep a child in your home, or anyone else for that matter, even dependents, who are unwilling to recognize your authority. Parenting is not for cowards. If you're a coward, don't become a parent. As an authority, you cannot be a coward. Kick people out of your house, not your wife. Some of you go and kick out your wife. I'm not talking about your wife. I'm talking about the dependents and children. Kick people out of your house who are not ready to live by your rules and regulations. You are the authority there. If they want to operate by their own rules, then it means they are old enough to go and take care of themselves. For as long as they want to be taken care of you under your roof, they live by your rules. This nonsense where you are keeping someone and they tell you, I don't want to go to church, and you leave them and then you go to church. That's nonsense. You are in charge. No, a value of this home is going to church. And everybody under my roof goes to church. Let's go. If you are going to miss church, you must be dying or something. And if you think church is beneath you or you've got better things to do, get out of my house. Go and live on your own and live as you please. But in this house, we go to church. In this house, you don't come back after. And you know, keeping people who drink, and you just watch them drinking, and you watch them coming at any hour, and you even know, these people, I don't know, we need to pray for them. Pray for them. There's nothing to pray for. Go and kick them out. In this house, we don't tolerate drunkenness. If you're going to go around drinking, get out. You are in charge. You are the authority. Don't shy away from it. That's the whole point of 1 Timothy 3, verse 4, greatly misunderstood on the qualifications of elders. That an elder must be one who manages his own household well with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. You cannot have a dignified house where people do as they please. The only way you have a dignified house is if you are in charge of that operation and people play by your rules. If people are not ready to play by your rules, there's a theory that when an elder has children that are rebellious or something, he must step down from his role as an elder. No, he must only step down if he's unwilling to kick out the people who don't want to listen to him. But if he has the guts to kick out his own child, flesh and blood, who even looks like him, says, get out of my house because you're not ready to follow my rules, then you have an elder. You know why? Because even in the church, people need to be kicked out. And if you don't have guts to kick people out of your home, you won't have guts to kick them out of the church. But there is no institution where there are rules that govern that institution, and where there is a disciplinary process to get rid of people who are not ready to play by the rules. Your home must be the exact same way. So when your children start getting older, you know, the guy is beginning to have a deep voice, and what do you call it? The Adam's apple is popping out, height, becoming tall. If they start thinking, oh, now we are men here, you remind them, I'm the only man here, actually. And even though you are a woman, single mother, you say, actually, I'm the man. I wear the pants in this house, even though I'm a woman. And you must play by my rules. Why should you feed and clothe and put a roof over someone who's not ready to listen to you? It doesn't work that way. So you must be the authority over your parents. Let me end with this test to drive home the point. A little scary, but hope it makes the point. Imagine you're at Victoria Falls on a holiday with your family, with your kids. And while you're chatting or distracted, your child starts wandering to the edge of the falls. And you call out to your child because you can't get there in time. You call out to them, hey, stop, come back. Is your child able to hear to your clear to listen to your clear, direct instruction? Will your child come back? I've had parents tell me, mine? Ah, no, mine won't. Because in the child's mind is that, what are you talking about, you? And the child continues. What you want is a child who listens to your clear, direct instruction. When you say, stop, about turn, march, and the child comes. That's what you are looking for. A child who hears to your direct instruction. Because life is like living at the edge of the Victoria Falls. And your child needs to be able to listen to your clear instruction if they're going to survive. All right, let's end the session here. So should I let me hand over. Kapanda will help us with how to proceed.